Matter, Ellie? So, it's a snow day. And I need to shovel for the second time already this morning. The only thing good about this mess is my office clothes. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film a tag video. And the tag that I want to do is a little bit late, but I still wanted to do it while February was still close at hand. And that is the hashtag Read Soul Lit tag, which was originally created by Dee Dee over at Brown Girl Reading, and I was tagged by Freeform Lady. Now, I didn't get this tag done by the end of February, but I figure, you know, every day is a good time to read Soul Lit, so I figured I'd sort of adjust the questions slightly and do it now anyway, because I really like this tag. So the first question is, what book or books are you looking forward to reading this February in honor of Black History Month? So the book I was looking forward to the most this past February to read for Black History Month was my buddy read with Patrice, and that was Harbor Me by Jacqueline Woodson, which is a middle grade novel about 6 young kids, 11 years old, who get put into a special class together and learn to basically support each other through some various tough and difficult situations. It was a lovely, lovely book. I listened to it on audio. I love Jacqueline Woodson. I had listened to Brown Girl Dreaming in past years, and I just love her storytelling ability. It was a great read, and one I'm really glad I got to. Question 2. Cite and talk about a classic Read Soul Lit book published before 1970 that you love. So I am choosing Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, which was published in 1952. And this classic work is all about identity. The narrator of the novel is quite a long novel. The narrator is nameless, and he is, you know, he starts out as, it details his life from his childhood all the way up through adulthood. And it basically, it's all the indignities and the suffering that he goes through as a black man, how he's invisible to society because of his race, but it also is how people are invisible in a large urban setting, how you can be invisible in that setting, and how things sort of pile on to each other, that you know, bad things can start to pile on to each other and make your life difficult without, you know, things just snowball, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I really, I listened to it on audiobook. It was very powerful. It also, just had a thought I wanted to mention. It's gone completely out of my head. But anyway, Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison is an excellent classic of the soul lit genre, and I would definitely highly recommend it on audiobook as well. Question 3. What hashtag Read Soul Lit book would you like to see adapted into film? In this one, I'm choosing another book that I finished last month, and that's Like One of the Family by Alice Childress. This is a book that's a series of vignettes all about a domestic worker's life in New York City in the 1950s, and all the indignities that she suffers with grace, and she puts people in their place when they're being ignorant and uninformed and racist. And I just love the voice, I love the tone, and I could totally see this being like, maybe not a movie, but a Netflix original series or something like that, where each of the vignettes was made into its own episode, because they're very episodic. That was the way that the book was written. And so it would fit perfectly into that format. And I think with the right actresses playing the parts of Mildred and Marge, you could really, really have a great series from that book. Question 4. Show and talk about one of your favorite hashtag Read Soul Lit books by a male author. I love Ta-Nehisi Coates. This is his nonfiction book, Between the World and Me, which is basically a letter written to his young son about how what it's like to be a black man in America, and lessons that he's learned and lessons that he wants his son to know. This is just an eloquent, gorgeous book. this book and his second nonfiction book, which I've completely blanked on the name of, but I will insert a picture of it over here. I truly love. I think his voice is tremendous. I think he is one of the best nonfiction writers writing today about our culture and our society and about race. If you have not read Ta-Nehisi Coates, and you don't want to like start with a novel, you can totally check out his articles. He's been a writer for the Atlantic magazine and other, you know, well-known publications, and you can check out some of his stuff online. I would highly recommend that you do so. He is fantastic. Okay, question 5. What Read So Lit new releases are you excited about this year? The one that came to mind immediately was the sequel to Bluebird Bluebird by Attica Locke, which is due to be released this September. Bluebird Bluebird is a mystery novel set in Texas. The main character is a black Texas Ranger, and I read the first one in that series last year. I've been waiting for the next one to come out. So excited about that. So looking forward to that in November. I don't even know if it has a title yet, but it doesn't really matter to me. I'm definitely going to read it. Question 6. A lot of us diehard fans refer to Toni Morrison as the Queen. Which writer do you feel would be the next queen in African American lit? I don't feel particularly well versed enough in the genre to say, but one that I would say would be in the running would be Jesmyn Ward. This is a book that she edited called The Fire This Time, which is a collection of essays about race that is sort of an answer to James Baldwin's book, The Fire Next Time. But Jesmyn Ward is well known for her fiction and her nonfiction. What was the book last? Jeez, I am really blanking on titles this afternoon for some reason. I don't even know why. But anyway, you all know Jesmyn Ward, who she is. She's hugely popular. I think she's a tremendous writer. I don't know if she would be the next queen, but she certainly would be up there for my choice for African American female authors that are very important and are sort of elevating our literary genres. Question 7. What's the last book by an African American author you read, loved, and gave 4 or 5 stars to? I couldn't pick just one. Obviously, Harbor Me by Jacqueline Woodson, which I mentioned at the beginning of this, I gave 5 stars to. A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole, which is a romance novel. I gave that 4 stars last month. And Becoming by Michelle Obama was my first 5-star read for the year. I absolutely love that memoir and think she's just tremendous. Question 8. Show some beautiful books by African American authors. So I pulled a few off my shelves. This is the movie tie-in cover for Hidden Figures by Margot Lee Shetterly. Now, normally movie tie-in covers I do not find particularly attractive, but this one, because of the women that were chosen to play these characters in Hidden Figures, I just love. They're so sassy and like taking on the world, and if you're not gonna help them, get out of their way. I just love the attitude in this picture. Hidden Figures is the story of the black female mathematicians who, during World War II, basically helped NASA get off the ground and help launch America into the space race and get our first astronauts into space. And I didn't learn one thing about these women when I was in school, which is a travesty, and I'm so thankful that books like this are being published today that will let everyone know about the amazing work that women, and particularly minority women, did in the history of the world and our country. Another beautiful book that gets mentioned all the time, but this cover is just awesome, and that's Their Eyes Were Watching God by Nora Zeal Hurston. Obviously a classic in the genre. I loved this book, and I love this cover. It's so beautiful. And then the last one I'll mention, although, you know, I probably could go on, is Difficult Women by Roxane Gay. I love the stark cover with the heart here in the middle, the pink lettering, and the feel of this. This is one of those, they sort of feel like rubber. You don't often get book covers in this texture, but it's such a delight to hold. So it's not only do I find it attractive in its layout and its formatting, but the feel of it is awesome. Question 9. Black History Month is about its people. What book would you like to read to learn more about African Americans? So many, but I'm just going to pick one to keep this brief. The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. This is a nonfiction book all about the migration of blacks from the South in the United States to the North during Jim Crow time period. I've been wanting to read that book for ages and ages and ages. It's a classic, almost, I would say it's a classic at this point in the nonfiction genre. So that is one that I do plan to read someday, and I am looking forward to learning more about the movement of people, black people from the South, the southern part of the United States, to the northern cities, and what that all entailed. And I've heard that Wilkerson does a masterful job of telling that story and using 2 or 3 individuals to be case studies to sort of talk about the broader ideas, but to have that personal connection. Question 10. Show what you're currently reading from your Read Soul It TBR. I'm not currently reading anything. I got through everything on my Read Soul It TBR except Dreams from My Father by Barack Obama. I've had this on my TBR for several years. I read his memoir, Audacity of Hope, when he was running for president the first time. And this one I picked up at a library sale or something several years ago, and it's just been languishing on my shelves. And after reading Becoming earlier this year, I really wanted to read more about the Obamas and had this one to hand. So even though I'm not currently actively reading it, it is on my short TBR for the next few weeks and month, basically the next month or so. So hopefully we'll be reading this very soon. So that's it. There is of course I could tag some other people, but I'm not going to since I'm doing this tag outside of Black History Month. But if you think that this is interesting and you have some great answers that you'd like to share with us all, please do this tag. I think this is a tag that would work for all year round, because I know myself, I'm always looking for recommendations for good books to read that would fit in the Read Soul Lit category. So please, if this tag interests you, feel free to go ahead and do it. In the meantime, I hope that you're all doing well and finding lots of great books to read, and I will talk to you later.